Hello everybody. I'm looking at cheap Wi-Fi IP cameras, network cameras, which I found on eBay. I'm not going to do a review. There's loads of reviews of these sort of cameras on eBay. On YouTube. If you go and look for them, you'll find dozens, hundreds of them. I'm more interested in sort of low-level hacking of them and investigation of their innards and how I went about this. Like I said, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what these cameras are and what they do without going into too much detail. This was $6 and it was the cheapest Wi-Fi camera I could find. This was $24 and it was the cheapest pan and tilt Wi-Fi camera I could find. It also has Ethernet on the back as well. This you can pay extra if you want the USB cable included. I just went for but everyone's got a micro USB cable in this day and age. One interesting quirk of these cameras is that they both have a micro SD card slot on the back, and that is used for storing the video. So although you access the video on these devices using an app that is a bit quirky but generally does the job, or through a web browser, the only place to store the video is on the device itself. And the problem with that is if someone is committing a crime or whatever and they see you've got a camera pointed at them, they're just going to take the camera or take the SD card camera out of the camera, and then you've lost your video, completely negating the point of having a security camera in the first place. Now, some of our more upmarket brand names, such as Belkin, and this is the Belkin Netcam HD, they don't actually have the way they deal with it is to actually force you to pay for a monthly cloud storage service. So you don't even get the option of storing the video locally with these. If you want to actually record video, you have to actually pay for this monthly recurring charge cloud service, which I think is called Ice Security Plus or whatever. So at least, and this was €100, so I've actually found that this camera here is actually terrible when compared to the cheap ones, because they at least let you store the video locally. But like I said, the problem is if someone takes the camera or the card, you've lost your video. So how do you deal with that? Well, there are applications, two examples of which are iSpy and Blue Iris, and these are CCTV applications, like the sort of applications you'd see the guy in the supermarket or the department store using to view all the feeds. And they pull in what's known as RTSP streams, real-time streaming protocol streams, which is the standard for network cameras. It's just a video streaming protocol. And they save it locally to the computer or to a video server. But they also crucially have the means to back up the video to a cloud service or FTP server. And they also provide a certain level of web access as well, so you can view your streams remotely. The problem is, although I know these cameras have RTSP streams available, because they both they're actually running Linux RTSP servers. The manufacturers don't publish the information of where these streams can be located, because the streams are accessed using a URI that looks just like a web address. So it's kind of, yes, you may know the camera's IP address is 192.168.192.1, but then you need to know what comes after that to actually access the stream. So it's like searching for a file on a web server when you don't know the structure of the web server directory structure. So so this video is all about how you can go about finding out that information. And part of it's a bit of software investigation, using bits of software to probe the cameras. Part of it's also knowing where to look on the internet for this information. And part of it also is just luck. So that's what the video is all about, and I hope you enjoy it. So here we are, starting the process of fiddling around with these cameras. I'm going to do it in two parts. First part is the teardrop shaped camera, the really, really cheap one. And then in part two, I'll move on to the pan and tilt motorized Sunluxy camera. I'm going to be up front and say one of these cameras ain't going to work with this process. I'm actually going to discover that I can't really do a lot with it. But I'm going to take you through the process to show how you would investigate this anyway. The first thing you need to do, if you want to do this, is set up your camera so it connects to your network. And on screen now you should see sort of a generic sort of setup process for your mobile app. Generally it entails typing in your wireless network details to your app, and then the app will try and connect to the camera and transfer those details to the camera, so that your camera can get on the network. And once you've done that, you come back to your laptop and start doing a bit of investigation. Now, before even doing anything technical, what you should do is go to wherever you bought the camera and try and find out any information you can there. It's worth noting that a lot of these cameras, they'll say unbranded or they'll have a brand, but they're actually sold under multiple brands. So in the case of this teardrop shaped camera, it actually does say on the eBay page where I bought it, unbranded, as you can see here. So that's rather unfortunate. If it doesn't have a brand name, one of the things that's worth doing is going down to the specifications and looking for the name of the chip that's being used. Here it is. It's probably down the very bottom. It's quite a long page, isn't it? Oh, I've missed it. Come on. Have they changed the listing? There was... They've changed it. Here. Oh, here we go. So, generally with these cheap cameras, you have what's known as a system on a chip. So, the camera processing electronics, the server that provides the network connectivity, and the means to store the images on the SD card, all that functionality is built onto one chip, because it's cheaper that way. I've done a search for the chip serial model number. Sometimes that'll take you to the original manufacturers, but sometimes it'll just, as what's happened here, it is taking me to loads of various sites selling the cameras based on this chip. So I've actually done a bit of searching for this and I can't find out who made it. It was only by chance that I actually found out it was actually made by a company called Macro Technologies, and I can't actually remember how I figured this out, but I got there in the end. As you can see, it's in Chinese, but they do have an English option. And if I go to more, I can see there's the camera there. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to tell me. The reason it probably wouldn't find the chip number is the model of the chip is because it's a text. It's not text, it's an image, so Google won't pick up on that. Support, there is no support. Download. Well, I've actually had a look at this, and honestly, goodness, the information isn't very good. There's nothing there that tells me what I need to find out. It just basically links me back to some questionable looking app store. Now, there's two things you're looking for in a webcam, sorry, in a IP camera. One is the video streaming method, which is the common one, the generally accepted industry standard is RTSP, the real-time streaming protocol, and that is merely a transport for the video. It doesn't do anything else. It just merely provides a channel for the video stream to come down. It was developed 20 years ago by Real Networks. You remember them? Real Player. But it's an open standard and it's accepted because most of the stuff Real Networks put out was actually a bit crap, really, in hindsight. But real-time streaming protocol is a decent protocol. And another protocol you're looking for is called ONVIF, which is the Open Network Video Interchange something or other. Open Network Video Interface Forum. ONVIF is a means of controlling the camera remotely and interrogating it. So, real-time streaming, for example, the real-time streaming protocol is served from the camera almost like a web server address. So, if you ever see a web server address, for example, here you've got http and wikipedia.org/wiki/onvif. A real-time streaming protocol stream would look similar, except it would have RTSP at the start. But you need to know this bit that comes after the IP address or the domain name to actually get access to the stream. And this is something you just have to know. You can't probe. The real-time streaming protocol commands don't give you the means to probe for that. So ONVIF deals with that. So ONVIF is a web service that exists on the camera on port 8999 or port 5000, and I believe there's a few other ports, but those are the two sort of standard ones. And what happens is your PC or whatever piece of software you're using to connect to the camera, such as a network video recorder or CCTV software, connects to those ports, says, are there any streams available? And that will return back the location of the RTSP streams. But it will also allow for things such as managing usernames and passwords, and also controlling the pan, tilt, and zoom of the camera if the camera has that functionality. So that's what you're looking for. Now, if we go back to the eBay listing, it'll actually say, if I do a quick search, Does this camera support ONVIF and support connect to NVR? NVR being a network video recorder. It's basically CCTV software. The camera uses its own ONVIF design because the camera mainly focus on phone remote recording, monitoring. So far is not support ONVIF. So basically they're saying it doesn't support ONVIF, but they've got their own weird implementation. But let's see what we can do with it. So, the first thing you want to do is go and get yourself a piece of software called the Advanced Port Scanner. It's free and it's a nice piece of kit, which I happen to like. And what this does is it goes out into your network, finds devices, and then sees what ports are open. Ports being network connection points. So web servers are on port 80, and your web browser knows that. So that every time you go to a web address, it'll go to port 80. But for example, other services will exist on a different number. So it's different services that run on a PC or server have a port number. Some of these are fairly common and generally accepted by the entire industry. Some of them are just used on an ad hoc basis. So this is a way of seeing what services are available on a network connected device. One of the things I like about this application is that it lets you install the application or run it directly from the installer so that it doesn't make any changes to your system. Which is handy to have, and particularly if it's an application you're never going to use again. So what you do when it opens, it'll ask you for an IP address, or you can scan a range of IP addresses and some ports. Now to find the IP address of your camera, that takes a bit of experimentation. One option is you can go to your router, which is your network router or ADSL modem, depending on what you're set up. Log in and have a search around and look for the DHCP client devices, and that'll give you a list of all the devices connected to your network. This is our cable TV box, which is combined with a cable modem, so it's all in one. Horizon, made by Virgin Media, pile of crap. Unfortunately, does the job, but it's slow and clunky. Now I happen to know that the camera I'm looking for is actually 5.9. If you're not sure, you might have to disconnect and reconnect things until you find out the one you want. Advanced Port Scanner you can scan a range of IP addresses, but sometimes the ports coming back won't really identify what the device is because you don't know what's available on the device. So I'm going to go with 5.9. So go back to Advanced Port Scanner and do a search for 5.9. Out of the box, it does a search on ports numbers 1 to 5,000. You should change that to 10,000, and I'll explain why. So I'm going to click scan and see. Probably skip this because this will take a few minutes. And here we are now. A few minutes later, the scan is completed, and as you can see, we've got 8 ports. Port 23, which is Telnet. I'll give that a try. Port 554, which appears to be a real-time streaming protocol port, because that is 554 is the RTSP port, and a couple of other TCP ports. The thing that bothers me is I'm not seeing any HTTP ports because RTSP uses HTTP to establish a connection. So generally I would expect port 554 to actually be having a HTTP connection exposed, but it's exposing TCP. TCP is raw internet data. HTTP is carried on TCP. I don't want to go into too much detail, but when you see just TCP ports, it's basically telling you it's all binary communication, and you need to understand you need to have some advanced knowledge or insider knowledge of what is being carried on those ports in order to make use of it. So that's not a good sign. Let's see. If I open Putty, do I have Putty? No, I don't actually. Second. So I have a little application here called Putty, which is a Telnet / Secure Shell terminal client. It's free, and you can do a search for Putty and you'll find it. It's pretty much an industry standard in terms of connecting to remote terminals. So I've got a GM login. Let's see, I'm going to try the sort of standard root blank password. Nothing, so I'll try root, nothing, try admin. And the password, The password is blank for this. No, it's throwing me out because generally after 3 attempts it throws you out. Now actually I have done this before, so, and I have tried to find the password and I'm not getting in. So now if I had access to Telnet, I might be able to probe what's going on within the. I'll be able to access the operating system directly and see what's going on and find the address of the RTSP stream if one does exist. Bear in mind that what we're saying here is that although there appears to be an RTSP port, it might not be standard. They might, though the manufacturer might have put in their own implementation of RTSP or their own. They might have their own protocol which just happens to have the same port number. Because a lot of these cheaper cameras, the development is a bit lazy. So, so let's go back to Advanced Port Scanner. So I've got all these ports. These aren't the ports I'm looking for. Port 554. So I'm actually going to give it one try, and I'm going to open an application called VLC, which is, come on, everyone knows VLC, which can receive RTSP stream. And I'm going to see if I can open the stream. So what I'm going to do is go to 192.168.59.554 and see what happens. I'm pretty certain, hey, can't open it. Oh, sorry, yeah, VLC does this weird thing where the error message keeps popping up. Has it crashed? It's crashed, oh dear. So let's try this again. But this time I'm actually going to prefix it with RTSP just to make sure. Now, VLC should see 554 know what you're talking about. But let's just put RTSP at the start just to confirm. Oh, damn auto. Nope. Same again. And there's one other thing you can do. There is an application called ONVIF Explorer, or sorry, ONVIF Device Manager. And what this is, it's just a diagnostic tool that goes out into your network to see if there are any ONVIF devices, ONVIF compatible devices on your network, and give you the details. So basically it probes the discovery ports, which would be 8999 or 5000, just to see if there's anything out there and give you the details. So if I just load it up here, and it scans automatically, but it's not picking anything up. Let's see if I can put in the camera the camera IP address directly and see what it picks up. Nope, no endpoint listening at that point. So unfortunately for this teardrop shaped camera, I'm actually going to say you're not going to get anywhere with this. Now, some people might say, "Oh, try Wireshark." Now, Wireshark is a packet capture tool for Windows. It captures network traffic, and you can actually examine it directly. Problem there is, I have done that, and I think it's out of the scope of this tutorial. This is more for people who really don't get deep into computing. You know, just something lay people could get into. Wireshark is a complicated tool. This is it, and if I start it off, and I'll start seeing all my network traffic flying through, and even though I'm not doing anything, there's just traffic flying everywhere. So you kind of need to know what you need to know how to interpret all the results, and I might do that in a separate tutorial. But I have actually run Wireshark for this camera using the very terrible PC client. Now, the PC client is actually an ActiveX control in Internet Explorer. You have to use Internet Explorer. ActiveX, ActiveX has died a death like nearly 10 years ago. I'm surprised that they're still using it. I have tried to sniff the traffic going backwards and forwards. Look at that, how cool that professional that looks. And pretty certain this looks like Microsoft Media Player circa window 2001. So, but yeah, I have actually tried to sniff the packets going backwards and forwards, and I'm 99% certain that the RTSP stream is not standard RTSP. It is some custom protocol they're using. So I suspect they the manufacturer started off with an RTSP stream and then just modified it to suit their own needs. So yes, the camera doesn't have an RTSP stream. That being said, the mobile app for this camera is actually pretty decent. So if you wanted a really, really cheap IP camera and you're quite happy to watch it on your phone, yeah, fine. Okay, bear in mind that the data is going to be on the memory card wherever the camera is. But, you know, it works. And now we're moving on to the second camera, which is the pan and tilt camera made by Sunluxy. If you go to the Sunluxy website, we will see that it's called the BV854. So this is actually a branded camera. So if I do a search for BV854 and see what turns up, always go to the images. You might find something similar. Okay, oh, I did a search for BV854. Oh, sunglasses, but if you notice here, 3cam. Now, I've actually had a look at the Sunluxy website for information about this camera, and it's not very good. It's the only instructions you get is the basic instructions on how to connect your app, but it does make the instructions that came were in a PDF, and they made free cryptic references to FAQs 1 to 9, which talked about more detail, but I couldn't find those on the Sunluxy website. So I went off and searched to see is anyone else making this camera, and I found 3cam. And if I go and look at their products, megapixel IP camera, there it is. It's black, but it is the same camera. It has ONVIF. Interesting. That's what I want. They've got the model number SP005, and the application is identical. The only difference is the name on the button on the home screen has a different name. Instead of Sunluxy, it's 3cam. 3cam. I can't pronounce it. But anyway, so let's have a look at the support, see if I can dig anything out. And there's all these FAQs I found cryptic references to. And look at this, how to watch live streams with ONVIF clients. And it goes into some information there, talking about how to set it up on iSpy. Now, I'm actually not using iSpy for this demonstration because for some reason, a recent update makes it crash on me. So I'm using Blue Iris. But before we continue on, I'm just going to take you through the process again of probing it to see what information we can find. I've already gone into my network, my list of clients to see where I am, and I know I'm on IP 192.168.192.35. So I'll go back in here and repeat the process, but with a different IP address. Because although we know although setting this camera up is a lot simpler, it's always nice to have a little explore to see if there's anything unusual on the device. So I'm going to come back, do a quick edit here for this to finish. And here we are. Looking at the ports. Port 554, which is the RTSP port. Good. And also has port 500, which says SOAP, which is good. That's what we want. SOAP is a web service protocol. Going back a few years, it was one of the earlier ones. It's based around XML. Nowadays, you'd use a REST protocol, REST-based web services. It's just SOAP is just SOAP and REST. They do the same thing in a slightly different manner. So that's good. That's what you want to see, and it's on port 5000, which is good. That's the kind of port you want. So what I'm actually going to do is just to show you what it looks like in ONVIF Explorer, ONVIF Device Manager. So loading up ONVIF Device Manager, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. That's interesting, port 35, sorry. All right, there we go. So loading up ONVIF Device Manager, it picks the camera up straight away. It's gone out onto the network to look for it, and it's found it. Look at the live video, which is just a picture of a bookshelf. I'll move it around a bit. It's in night mode. Unfortunately, this camera doesn't give you control. This is my children's books. I am not going to show you anything going on in the house because privacy and all that sort of stuff. Mess for boys. Cupcake. Yeah, books. So anyway, I'll close out of this, and I'll load up Blue Iris, which is it's a CCTV application. It's not open source. It's not free. It costs about $70 or $80, but it's a really good one. I'm using the evaluation version, but I have actually worked with companies who had a CCTV system and they used it and it did the job grand. So what I'm going to do is add a camera, just take the default details. I'm going to enable audio and direct to disk recording. Direct to disk recording means that the stream is recorded directly to disk without any re-encoding of the video. So you're getting the raw video. And it should, if I click find inspect, it should pick it up on the network automatically. There we go, it's found it. And okay it, and it's going to do some probing just to see what the camera is capable of. Okay that, okay, and it works. Of course you get this evaluation version business, but that's okay. Just to prove it works, even the pan and tilt works. So there you go. So the gist of this is what you want is ideally to search for cameras that have ONVIF. A camera that says it supports RTSP by itself might not be supporting proper RTSP, or you might not be able to find the location of the RTSP stream. And that's the kind of risk you take when you buy cheap cameras. And I should also point out that even with good cameras, like for Belkin Netcam HD, which is part of the Belkin Wemo Internet of Things ecosystem, is... It's also worth bearing in mind that even some good cameras, expensive cameras, for example, this is the Belkin Wemo. No, I don't want Amazon Smile. Even some really good expensive cameras like the Belkin Netcam HD, which you would assume because it's more expensive. It's like how much is it? It's $100 for the HD Plus, which is the one I have. You'd think, oh, well, maybe that's got better support for RTSP and ONVIF. It doesn't. I've actually got one of these cameras and I have probed it, and the ports that are open are an obscure port 9654, which apparently is an older version of the Apple QuickTime video streaming protocol. So, to all intents and purposes, it's based on Apple QuickTime streaming, but they've modified it because I've tried to actually open the stream. So, if you're wanting to buy IP cameras, do a bit of research first. If you go to eBay and do a search for cheap cameras, like there's so many cheap IP cameras you can find, but what you should do is always do a little search for ONVIF as well, because when you have ONVIF you can't go wrong. Generally it should just work so long as it does the job. There's actually oh, is that another brand name for this camera? Fleurion. That's actually more than I paid, but then I go, that's the camera I have, the pan and tilt camera I have. So there you go, Fleurion. Another brand name. But yeah, like I say, do your research. Look for ONVIF. Like, of course, buyer beware. The cheaper it is, the less functionality it is. But that's not okay. So all I can say is, like, buyer beware. No, it's look for ONVIF. Don't assume that because a camera is expensive or from a well-known brand that it's going to be better, it's going to have these protocols. They would rather tie you into their ecosystem. Like, for example, the Belkin camera I mentioned doesn't offer any means to save video other than to this third-party cloud service that you have to pay a monthly recurring fee to, which kind of sucks when you think about it. It's actually a bit of a rip-off. So, there you go. Yeah. If you're buying an IP camera, make sure it has ONVIF support. So there you go. Cheers. Take care. Bye. Hope you enjoyed it.